Hey everyone, Matt Krieger to review the May results, which are kind of fascinating. It's our kickoff to summer, and I think we kind of saw that in terms of revenue, number of appointments, and we'll get into all of that. Starting here, kind of at a 20,000 foot view, revenue per location, 20,400, up from the same month last year. Now, what's interesting is trying to kind of evaluate why are we up, and with the data that we have, there's really kind of two main things that drive this, right? One being activities, how many appointments are we actually booking, and then the second one being our price per appointment, and that would indicate that either A, we're doing a little bit larger jobs, or B, we've increased prices. And so that's really the one I want to key in on is this average revenue per appointment. $283. Now for the year, you can see it's $388. This is really typical seasonally. January and February, those were both above $480. The snow removal really drives this up. But if I look back at last year, March through October, our average was 293, so this is right in the ballpark. But getting back to why is our revenue up? Well, if I look at it, our price per appointment this May was 6% higher. Last year in May, this was $268. So 6% higher. So again, that really kind of comes back to two things. Either one, we're doing larger jobs, or B, we've done a pretty good job of increasing prices annually. I'm hoping it's more the latter one. If we're doing the same amount of work and just been able to increase our prices by 5 or 6%, that's a really good job. If you have not increased your prices, now is really kind of a time to look at that. Labor rates are going to go up this summer. We're going to see costs of inflation go up as some of these tariffs really do start to take effect, and so that's going to affect your supplies. We're going to see oil go up. Matter of fact, last week with what's going on in the Middle East, we saw oil rise 10%. And so we're going to have inflation in our costs. We need to make sure that we're keeping track of that with our revenue. One other note about appointments, this 3,249 appointments, that was our second most ever to August right here. I actually think we're going to come pretty close to setting a record in June. Last year, we saw an uptick in appointments from May to June. If we see that same uptick, we're gonna set a record for number of appointments in a month. Completion percentage was really strong, 93%. That's within our average, so pretty good. Let's hop into proposals here. And in proposals, we had 568, down a little bit from last month, but really overall, I think there was some really good news with proposals. And here's what I'm going to say. We had a 36% acceptance rate. And if you remember, we don't have all of May's data. So in other words, we don't, the proposals that went out at the end of May, you can see it on average, it takes 12 days to accept, which that's significantly down. We've been at 21 days historically, so that's down. But on average, it takes 12 days to accept. So if a proposal went out May 25th, it might not have gotten accepted until June 5th. And so I don't have that data in the system. And so the fact that 36%, greater than 1/3 of the proposals we sent out in May, have already been accepted. When we look at this next month, I think we're going to see this go north of 40. It's probably going to be our highest acceptance rate ever, which means we're writing really good proposals. I want to break down who those proposals are going to. You see this average accepted value, you see this average proposal value. Well, let's break that down a little bit more. When we look at this, we have proposals over 5,000, proposals under 5,000. So 107 of our proposals, about 15-16% of our proposals went out with over a $5,000 price tag. Average on those was 17,600. We had a 3% acceptance rate on those. That's actually pretty far down from our trailing 12-month average, which had a 12% acceptance on those. But again, I think that you're going to have a longer time of average days to accept on these. So this isn't necessarily that alarming. Let's see what this looks like 30 days from now. Nevertheless, you can see that 107 proposals at 17.6 really does swing our average. So then how about proposals under 5,000? That was the vast majority of them, about 82-83% of them were under that $5,000 amount. 461 of those proposals, average value 1309, and look at that acceptance rate. 44% of those were accepted. Breaking that down a little more, if we look at the acceptance rate by customer type, 44%, and these are year-to-date numbers, 44% on existing customers, 22% on non-existing customers. That probably does not mean non-existing, it means new customers. I don't think we can have a non-existing customer, but you get my point. On new customers, the acceptance rate is 22%. What's interesting is in May, I took a look at the proposals, and approximately 60% of our proposals are going to existing customers. 40% in May were going to new customers. If you look at the last trailing 12 months, that's kind of in line. It's a little bit closer to half and half if we look over our trailing 12 months. But that's a really good ratio. I think if we can hit that 50-50, 55-45 ratio of existing customers to new customers, that really kind of lends itself to growth. What we don't want to see is we don't want to see this swing up to be 70, 80%, and newer customers being 20, 30%. That's going to slow down our growth rate. And so this really is, I think, positive. Overall, I think May was maybe one of the better proposal months we've ever seen. Looking down at marketing channels, and again, this makes sense. Existing customers year to date, 62% of proposals were marked by existing customers within ServiceMinder. And then you really start to see the channels that we're trying to drive new revenue in. We have walk-in, we have referral, we have canvassing, we have customer referral. Really, those are the same. What you don't see on here is cold call. There's about 4 or 5 different cold call categories in ServiceMinder. If I add all those up, that would be 205. So you can see cold call as all put together really is the 4th largest marketing channel. And so, if I can leave you with a couple things off of all this data, I know there's a lot in here to absorb. Let me leave you with 3 different things. The first one would be what we talked about earlier. We're going to see costs increase. We're going to see our gas prices go up. We're going to see our labor prices increase over the summer and probably into the fall. We're going to see material costs go up. And so we really have to be on top of that. If we're not on top of that, you're going to start to see your profit margins come down, and in some cases come down dramatically. The second thing I want to talk about is marketing channels. Cold call, we talked about that, but email campaigns, there's another one that's really kind of low for right now. 2 kind of bits of advice: ask for referrals. If you're not asking for referrals, then you're just kind of leaving it up to customers to think of you when they do. If you ask for a referral, even if they don't have that in mind at the moment, they're going to keep that in mind that you're looking for more business. So ask your clients for referrals. And second, ask your clients to review you on Google. When I look in the local search and things like that, that's a really low marketing channel for us. And we can really start to appear more in organic search if we have our customers giving us reviews. So ask for those Google reviews and let that drive your local SEO. The third tip I'll give you is, as we get into these summer months, as we start to see revenue increase, as we start to see activity increase, we're going to start to see AR increase. And so make sure you have a process to stay on top of those collections. Cash flow is the lifeblood of the business. Cash is king. So stay on top of collections. Thanks. Look forward to talking to you next month.